Hello, I'm Ronnie Eldridge. Welcome to Eldridge and Company. Today, my friend Doug Muzio, professor of political science at Baruch College, and come the fall, once again the host of City Talk, and I are continuing our conversations about all things political. Do we have a feeling? We don't have a feeling about the state legislature that there's a goal that they're going to. What's the direction? There's no direction.
There's no direction. The goal is power, perquisites, money.
Pass a budget on time.
Right.
We don't
It's
know.
all mechanics. There's no overarching set of principles.
Right.
I mean,
nothing.
Cover your rear end.
Yeah. And the problem is, here we want ethics, here we want voting reforms. We still have these archaic registration things and all the voting thing. Wait, we're so behind every state in the
Well,
country.
that shows your values. They are antagonistic to your values, but the reason why we have them is that it preserves the status quo. It covers people's rear ends.
Right.
It allows them to advance. So come on.
All right, so we've taken care of the state.
Yeah. No. Well, go ahead.
The city.
Ah.
Now there's all the talk about the mayor's reelection campaign hitting off. That also does not have a coherent message to me.
Well, yeah.
He's never really settled down to be the mayor in my mind. I don't know why.
Well, he's shot himself in the vital organs. I mean, he thought he was the spokesman for the progressive movement, the progressive moment.
Right.
And so in 2013, when he was elected, he felt that he was going to lead this movement. And he's turned into a bit of an ideologue. Okay, this is the full Monty. I think his administration was green. They were young. They were arrogant. They knew it all, and I think that has been emblematic of the campaign. And he's run almost a permanent campaign. What got him into trouble is that it was campaign finance, and it wasn't even his own campaign. It was 3 state legislators. So he got elected by a large majority of a small number of voters, and he was hell-bent on changing the world, and the world didn't change.
And then he made really a faux pas with Hillary Clinton.
Oh,
And then
he
got bypassed with Sanders.
That's right. So he announced that he was going to hold this progressive caucus in Iowa, and he was going to chair it, and BS. He didn't endorse Hillary until it was worthless. So he made a number of strategic errors that I think that politically he'll regret. Now, let's not forget that crime rate has gone down, jobs are up, pre-K.
But those are all things that happen anyway. Jobs are increased, crime is down. The pre-K is still unanswered because it still has a lot of problems. And it came basically because he forced the state, Cuomo. It wasn't what he originally proposed.
Okay.
That he was going to tax the rich and give us pre-K.
Yes. Okay.
He was going to get the horses out of Central Park. And that became,
now
that's a scandal, it seems to me. It's muddy.
It's muddy. It's muddy, and it portends. 2017 is the next mayor's race. Right now, he's in trouble. But if you don't have a candidate to run against him, he ain't going to be in trouble. So it depends on the U.S. attorney. If if there's indictments of certainly the mayor, but even indictments of people close to him. And even if there isn't necessarily even an indictment, the fact that the U.S. attorney and the district attorney are investigating puts a pall over the entire administration. It affects people's psyche. You feel under siege. You're giving testimony and data and all of that.
And avoiding and this.
Right, and then
Yep.
you're not focused on a coherent agenda.
But we have that in the state as well.
Please,
And then
you're
we have the two
depressing me.
characters fighting with each other.
Yes. Oh well. I mean, that is
Becomes a kind of crazy thing.
It's crazy, and I think most of it is the governor. He doesn't seem to like anybody who stands, at his height, and Bill's much bigger than he is, and he is a Machiavellian in the classic sense of the word. He plays hardball politics. He'll throw it at your head, but also he's a complete pitcher. I have to continue the baseball analogy. He can throw you curves, he can throw you sliders, he can throw you knuckleballs, but he's a hardball player. So you don't mess with the governor.
And I don't think de Blasio really is.
Yeah, and then he picked a fight with him. I don't know how much more he should have taken or could have taken. I mean, put myself in that position, and probably not very far. But to go after the governor, and particularly, wait a minute, this thing with the leaked memo.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, he blames Cuomo. Then it's determined that it wasn't. It was the spokesman for the. Then he blames Ken Lovett, the reporter. I mean, he's desperate. He's blaming, and then he talks about agents of the city. I mean, he makes up this class of actor that don't have to testify, and four of the five are lobbyists or have business connections with the city. I mean, there's a whole
it's
stench.
murky.
Yeah, there's
And then he doesn't go to the
odor.
second legislative hearing on this clause. I mean, all he had to do was go and say, I testified for 4 hours. I don't know what else you're going to ask me. And I really can't spend too much time. But he doesn't even go.
No, I know.
And it was across the street.
Yeah, it's a series of tactical mistakes. Now, I understand that, he's been dealt a bad hand, and a state legislature that didn't like him to begin with and absolutely despises him because of his attempts to unseat them as the majority. So he's not going to get
But that
squat.
was nothing new, was it?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think it was new insofar as that it was directly out of the mayor's office. It was with direct money. So, and then payback is, the proverbial.
But what's also interesting is he may not be popular. I don't know what his polling rate, what is his polling stuff? Do you know?
Well,
do they do any polling?
Well, yeah, but his negatives outweigh his positives. And he's got there's a racial divide. He's, not liked by white voters. And he is supported by black and Hispanic voters. But recent polls shows that
weakening.
It's weakening.
Yeah.
So, but you can't
But
be
who else
somebody.
is with
You
that?
can't be somebody with nobody.
So we're back to our question of leadership.
Okay.
And development of leaders.
Well,
if you were to think of anybody in New York City who could run for mayor now, really come in with a thing, who would it be?
I don't see the person that you are talking about now. There are people who could, by 2017, run for the office. I mean, Hakeem Jeffries, very dynamic congressman from Brooklyn. Ruben Diaz Jr., the borough president of the Bronx. He pines after the position. Scott Stringer, I mean, you know, he's dying to be mayor. So there are people out there who want the job, but there's nobody who's got the fire to do it.
And
But
also, there's nobody there that's got the public appeal, I think, to galvanize support.
well, yes, that's true. But don't forget, this is still 16. So the day after the election, on November 9th, everybody will be talking about the mayor's race.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
until then, everything's going to be focused on the president. Now, if Trump wins, then it'll be, you know, talking about it ad infinitum.
Do you think the voters, I forgot this one thing, the voters in New York understand that we're going to vote 3 times this year? And that is a real example of the lack of will in the state legislature.
Well, it's not the state legislature. The
It
reason
isn't?
why you have the congressional elections where you do is because the federal government determined that because of the overseas voters that it had to be a certain amount of time. It's so many
But
little
since so many
things
state
together.
since so many state legislators run for re-election, I mean, you could just as easily, I don't know. So in June, we have a primary for the state legislatures, and in September, we have a primary for what? In June, we have
No,
in
that's
June
the
it's
congressional, and then
And
in September we have the state.
It's crazy.
It's
Anyway.
crazy.
If we were to think nationally about heroes, you know, with Muhammad Ali dying, do we have anybody like him in the world today, in the country today?
No, absolutely not. I think that Ali was a much larger than life character. I mean, you know, he said he was the greatest.
He
and
had Trump's, that was, you know, Trump, I'm the greatest.
Right.
But he had a grace with it.
Yeah, and
he
he
produced.
demonstrated it in
Yeah.
terms of his championship boxing, but also in terms of his courage. I mean, giving up 3.5 years in the prime of his career for principle. I can't see another athlete or anybody giving that up for what? And he, you know, waited the 3.5 years and then ultimately got vindicated by the Supreme Court. But it was taken away by vindictive people.
Let's tell the story about the Supreme Court.
He was banned from boxing. He was stripped of his title. And then
Because
finally,
he didn't want, because he wouldn't go into the army.
He was a conscientious objector, and he based it on religious grounds. And the court, you know, 3.5 years later, took up the case, and it was unanimous that he had a right to do what he did. So he stood up for principle, and he gave up a lot.
All the
And
money
I
for the
don't
fight.
think that there are too many people in the United States right now, and certainly nobody of prominence. I mean, if you look at entertainers, you look at athletes, there's no one out there who is courageous like that.
There really isn't anybody out there with the same charisma.
Oh, yeah, and then...
I mean, he was so talented. Not
Oh.
only was he a talented fighter, but he was a talented writer, educator. He was wonderful.
Let me tell you a story. I was a college senior at Fordham University in 1969, and the Afro-American students had invited Muhammad Ali to speak at their thing, at their function. And I was the only white person among the African-American students who met with Ali and ate dinner. And the thing that struck me is how massive he was. He was in a royal blue, double-breasted suit, and he was just, and then he talked for 45 minutes to an hour, and he had us all in rapt attention, and it was interspersed with humor and real meat, real issues, and I was utterly taken by the man.
And he was beautiful.
Oh man!
And he would tell us that.
Yes, yes, and he backed up his words with action.
Yeah. So we have nobody like that.
No, I can't think of one. Now, there are thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of heroes out there, or maybe even millions of heroes out there. But they don't have the prominence that he had. He had the stage, and he
owned it.
He owned it.
Yeah, everything. So there's another question that you're interested in, and that is the legislation about extending the statute of limitations on.
I'm not only interested, I am furious, I am embarrassed,
So tell us,
I think they should indict
Who
the,
is they? Let's
the
start.
Catholic Church.
what's the argument?
The argument is that, what's the argument for it?
No, what's the state? It's a proposed law, a bill.
Oh, okay, a proposed law that will extend the statute of limitations to bring civil suits against people who committed pedophilic acts. And the major force against this law is the Catholic Church. And they've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on lobbying firms trying to kill the legislation. And to me,
This is New York State.
the New York State, and to me, they should charge the church with RICO violation. I mean, you're covering up a dastardly, tens, hundreds, or thousands of dastardly acts. It is utterly immoral, and the church should be condemned for it.
Did you go to parochial school?
Yes, I went
New
to
York?
I went to St. Thomas the Apostle in Woodhaven, Queens.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Archbishop Malloy, also in Queens, and I went to Fordham University in the Bronx. So I am a schooled Catholic.
And did you ever know anybody who was in a situation that
You know what? I
you didn't?
didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't, and I don't know. You were naive. I would.
You wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know.
If it didn't happen to
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think's going to happen? Are they going to be able to buy the state? Yeah.
Yep. Nothing's going to happen.
The Catholic Church is a very strong power in the state legislature.
It always has. It always has been. I mean,
Right.
Go through the legislative leaders: Flanagan, Irish Catholic; DeFrancesco, Italian Catholic. I mean, you can keep going down the line, and the whole Long Island delegation. I mean, so you have a whole bunch of people who are sympathetic to that point of view.
So on the other hand, that's a laissez-faire viewpoint, or it's protection, I guess, of their, more or less their faculty, their priesthood, or whatever you call it. On the other hand, you've got this national sense of such purity that you have such draconian things as a sex offender list in this country.
Oh yeah, it's
I mean, for life, a kid, it's just...
It's crazy.
It is.
It's crazy. But
we have people being held in detention after they've paid for their crime by being in prison, and then they're held in detention
I know.
without any recall.
No, one can think of dozens of things that are equally reprehensible, but they're there and they're not going to change.
So this puritanical streak doesn't get reflected in the state legislature when the Catholic Church comes to oppose it?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, and it's more than interesting, but yes, it is interesting.
Let's go on to another subject.
Yeah.
The governor of New Jersey.
What? You're torturing me. You are torturing. He is now at the lowest approval rating of his governorship. 27% approve it. He doesn't deserve that much. He is to use the word political whore as a term doesn't represent the full scope of Christie's backbending and lack of core fiber. He is a fraud.
That's it, huh?
I mean, what am I going to
He
say?
hasn't-
And then the people in New Jersey know it. I mean, it's something like 27% favorable and 63% unfavorable. He was out of the state for most of this year and a good part of last year.
We haven't heard a statement from him about
Nothing.
about Trump's recent
Nothing.
thing. No.
Nothing. Now, the only hope is that when the judge, in the Bridgegate thing, makes the decision that he releases the people who knew but were not criminally liable, that his name shows up. I doubt it very much, but it's not only the man, it's the thugs that he placed in office in the Port Authority and elsewhere that really speaks
And the way
to
he
his
played
leadership.
politics. But he was tough, like Andrew's tough. He was tough with county
but
executives, mayors.
Yeah,
But what happened? Why does Andrew?
Andrew is different.
Smarter, I think.
He's smarter.
I don't know.
And he's more willing to negotiate where everybody gets something, and in the whole package. So I've described him as Machiavellian, but he's wisely Machiavellian. I wouldn't even call Christie Machiavellian, because that would be a compliment to him.
But the Democratic Party in New Jersey bears some
Oh,
responsibility.
well,
Where now is Barbara Bono? Is that her name?
Yes, yes.
I mean, she was a good candidate for governor, right?
Yeah, well,
And totally betrayed by her party.
Yep, Norcross, who's the power broker in the southern part of the state, made a deal with Christie. It's all deals. It's all self-interest. It's all power. It's all position. So don't look for ethics where you're never going to find it.
She tried so hard.
So he looked unbeatable, and he was.
Now, I don't want to leave this with a cynical tone.
Oh,
Our two programs. I mean, we haven't been very encouraging to people about our political environment. What can we say that's good?
my silence is
No.
is
No, we've got to say to people that you can make a difference. You can. But you have to be persistent. You can't give up.
yeah.
You have to keep at it and keep at it and keep at it. You have to make demands of people. You have to, when I was younger, I always thought everybody knew more than I did. So as I get older, I don't necessarily think that anymore, right?
Nor should you.
How do we give that same confidence to average voters whose common sense tells them something's wrong?
I don't know. I think I think a lot of voters who think something's wrong just throw up their hands in the face of, the self-interest of legislators and people who do business before the legislature, and they just say it's not worth it. Let me take care of my life. It's enough problems.
But it is important.
Yes, yes. I mean, the political realm is the crucial realm, and it defines who we are as a people. It defines our values. It defines us. I mean, this is why this election is so important, because it is really a critical election. This will determine the thrust of American politics for the next generation. And it's frightening.
I hope we haven't discouraged people.
I think that Hillary's got it locked in terms of the numbers. What's Bernie going to do? Does Bernie have, loyalty to the party, and he's going to make nice? I doubt it.
Right.
So I think he's going to play spoiler.
Spoiler, or I don't think he can be a spoiler.
Well, he could. I mean,
It's
he
not going to cause an election. Thank you very much,
Thank
Doug
you.
Muzzio. If there are any people you'd like to hear or topics you'd like us to explore, please let me know. You can write to me at CUNY TV, 365 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York, 10016. Or you can go to the website at cuny.tv and click on Contact Us. I look forward to hearing from you, and thank you.